Welcome in, everyone. All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. We're breaking down some pretty fascinating and honestly slightly wild source material today. We're looking at how the shift from physical to digital information, combined with AI, is kind of quietly reshaping our reality. According to the source, the way we consume and record history has fundamentally changed, and it is happening right under our noses. So we're going to unpack exactly how this happens, step by step. Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We're hitting 5 main areas. First, the death of editions. Then, stealth editing and AI. Section 3 is the surveillance trade-off. Fourth, we'll look at China's AI baseline, and we'll wrap up with the quiet control. We're just going to neutrally unpack the claims our source material makes step by step.
All right, Section 1, the death of editions, the transition from physical print to silent updates.
So the source points out this brilliant little detail that's super easy to overlook. The word edition has basically died over the last 15 years. Think about it. It used to be that if the afternoon paper had different facts than the morning paper, you literally had a first edition and a second edition. You could put them side by side on your kitchen table, physically point your finger and say, look, right here, they changed this. But today, in our digital world, there are no editions. There is just the current version. It's a single web page that updates completely invisibly. It leaves zero trace of what was sitting right there just a few hours ago. To really put this into perspective, the source brings up Booker T. Washington's book, Up From Slavery. When it was originally released, it was universally accepted as a true autobiography. By 2006, scholars started adding notes to new physical prints, kind of questioning the absolute truth of it. And then, by 2017, the labeling shifted completely. It was recategorized entirely as fiction. Now, because physical copies of those older books still exist in the world, curious readers can literally track that evolution. But imagine if this was a purely digital ecosystem. Essential update gets pushed out, and boom, all versions instantly say fiction. The historical record is just fundamentally altered overnight with absolutely no paper trail. It's wild. Which brings us to Section 2, stealth editing and AI, modifying the record in real time. That loss of physical editions opens the door to a modern newsroom practice that happens constantly. It's called stealth editing. The explainer defines this as a completely invisible cleanup process. Imagine a digital story goes live. Later on, someone decides to tweak the wording, pull a few paragraphs, or even swap out a headline to completely change the tone. The kicker here? The publication doesn't issue a correction. There's no editor's note. The page just updates. So as a reader, you're sitting there questioning your own memory, thinking, wait, I swear it said something else this morning. And if you're wondering how common this actually is, researchers documented 131 published scientific papers that were quietly altered or just deleted entirely after they were published. And we're talking about medical and scientific records here, stuff doctors actually rely on. Figures swapped, data changed, and not a single formal correction notice in sight. It really shifts what we consider the bedrock of objective truth. Now, throw artificial intelligence into the mix, and this manipulation goes into overdrive. Just look at 2023. Sports Illustrated got caught running product articles by writers who literally did not exist. They used fake bios, purchased AI headshots, the whole shebang. When investigators started asking questions, those writers magically vanished and then reappeared under totally new fake names. That same year, CNET quietly published 77 finance articles written by AI. And once they got exposed, more than half of those required corrections. The source points out this isn't necessarily some grand conspiracy. A lot of it is just driven by companies being cheap and then getting embarrassed, but it absolutely proves the foundation of media is already shifting. And it's not just articles being manipulated, it's us. That leads into Section 3, the surveillance trade-off, trading privacy for convenience. The source highlights a pretty chilling irony here. Remember George Orwell's 1984? In the book, the main character, Winston, has to find this specific tiny corner in his room just to hide from the government's screen. Well, today, we've kind of willingly sprinted past that. We carry our surveillance devices with us everywhere we go. Actually, we pay a monthly fee for them. We get excited to upgrade them when the cameras get better, and we plug them in to charge right next to our beds every single night. How did we get here? Well, the trade-off happened in clear stages. Step 1, we all cheered when these amazing, totally free tools showed up, like early search engines. But step 2 is realizing that when a highly valuable tool is completely free, well, you know the saying. You aren't the customer, you are the product. These devices listen. They track what you type, what you search, what you watch, even how long you linger on a certain image. By step 3, they've built this incredibly detailed profile of exactly what makes you tick, all so that data can be sold. And all that accumulated data, It goes into creating what the industry calls your digital twin. Now, that sounds like science fiction, but it's a very real marketing practice today. A digital twin is basically a comprehensive digital simulation of you. Companies don't have to guess what's going to influence your behavior anymore. They can literally test out different manipulation strategies on your digital twin in a simulation. Once they find the exact strategy that works on virtual you, they deploy that exact tactic on the real you. All right, let's zoom out to the global stage. Section 4, China's AI baseline, setting the default truth for the world. This source highlights a recent massive development in this space. A company based in Beijing just released the largest artificial mind ever built for public download. We're talking about an engine with a staggering 2.8 trillion parameters. But here's the crazy part. They released it to the world entirely for free. Which obviously brings up a huge question. We just talked about how in the digital age, literally nothing is ever truly free. So what exactly does a foreign power gain by giving away the world's most powerful, fastest-thinking AI engine at absolutely zero cost? According to the explainer, the ultimate prize is control over the baseline of truth. Think about it. Whoever builds the engine that everyone adopts, well, they set the global defaults. That engine is what decides what counts as a settled fact, what historical events get a full explanation, and what gets buried as a tiny footnote. So, if cash-strapped schools or local hospitals or county record systems adopt this free system just because it's cheap and it works, they are inadvertently adopting that specific programmed worldview as their default reality. And the source warns that the stakes are incredibly high, pointing to China's domestic social credit system as a real-world example. It's not a secret over there. If you miss a payment or you annoy the wrong official, you get put on a list, and being on that list dictates your actual freedom. You can be denied train tickets, you can be banned from boarding airplanes, you can be denied housing for holding incorrect political views. They can even stop your kids from attending top-tier schools. It's real-world restriction powered by data. This brings us to a super complex dilemma currently playing out right now in the US. On one hand, you have local citizens marching, understandably protesting, to pause local data center expansions because of very real concerns about power grid strain and water usage. But the explainer neutrally points out the other side of the coin. If domestic AI expansion stops, foreign expansion won't, and we might just inadvertently end up running our entire national infrastructure, our schools, our businesses, on a foreign engine built by an authoritarian state. Which brings us to the conclusion of the source material. Section 5, the quiet control. The modern face of tyranny isn't troops, it's administrators. The big takeaway here is that if a bad version of this tech takes root locally, we shouldn't be looking for traditional signs of tyranny, like troops marching in the streets. Modern control is going to look way more boring. It'll look like quiet, automated, administrative penalties, all dictated by algorithms we aren't allowed to see. It looks like your smart speaker hearing you mention a heart flutter in your kitchen, and suddenly, bam, your health insurance rate spikes. It looks like mysteriously getting rejected for a job, and the human HR rep can't even tell you why, because the machine just made the call. Or it looks like your kid learning a version of history where 3 super crucial sentences were just stealthily deleted overnight and nobody even noticed. There's a quote from the source that really hits the nail on the head. It says, "This is no longer requiring a monster. This just requires an administrator who thinks he's just tidying up to make the world better." It's such a powerful point. The greatest threat to truth in the digital age might not be some cartoonish dictator burning books in a town square. It might just be a totally reasonable-sounding administrator, someone who genuinely thinks certain facts are just too messy or dangerous for the public, and uses a machine to quietly tidy up the past to protect the collective. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final, provocative question to chew on. We've willingly traded physical editions for silent digital updates. We've traded our privacy for a little bit of convenience. So ask yourself, if our history, our daily news, and our personal data are constantly, silently updating in the background, who exactly is writing the current version? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into the architecture of stealth control. Stay curious, keep asking questions, and definitely keep paying attention to what's changing right in front of you.